our Senate Democratic Caucus, is here today to talk a little bit about our Pennsylvania Home Rebate Plan, which we will share with you this morning. This plan we are detailing today, the PA Home Rebate Plan, is simple, it's substantial, and most importantly, it's meaningful. This is a new and fresh approach, and it's a departure from other plans that are now being offered and considered here in the General Assembly. This plan would drive out $4.4 billion in property tax relief and rent rebate to taxpayers all across Pennsylvania. It would be paid for by a sensible mix of personal income tax as well as sales and tobacco taxes. Our Pennsylvania Home Rebate Program is comprehensive and will provide the kind of relief that taxpayers have demanded from us for many years. Our plan would make residential school property taxpayers eligible to receive 100% rebate of their taxes up to a maximum amount of $1,990. Any taxpayer with a tax bill in excess of $1,990 would still receive a significant and substantial relief. Our plan also includes significant rent relief for renters. More than 876,000 renters across Pennsylvania would be eligible for a $500 rebate or relief, property tax relief. Just by way of example, if your school district tax bill was $1,990 or below, your taxes are completely eliminated. If your school tax bill is $2,100, you would receive $1,990 as relief, and you would be responsible for the $110 difference, or roughly that amount. The state gaming fund for property tax relief is not being touched. That money is taken off the top and has been factored into our funding structure. The Pennsylvania IFO studied our plan and reported back to us earlier this year, and they said that the average school property tax bill of all Pennsylvanians is $1,990, and the median tax bill is $1,608. In addition, the IFO stated and indicated that our funding mix that we are using to achieve this relief is sustainable. And further, according to the IFO, this approach will result in an elimination of taxes for 2 million households. Again, the IFO has said our plan will result in the elimination of taxes for 2 million Pennsylvania households, and the Pennsylvanians will receive deep reductions for another 1.2 million homeowners in Pennsylvania. For additional protection of the taxpayers, our plan does sustain the Act 1 spending caps and has sizable cushion between the median tax bill that we reference and our maximum rebate to absorb short-term increases in school property taxes, and calls for the capping of school district reserves at 4% from the current 8%. We are also willing to discuss adjustments that further tighten the ability for our districts to raise revenue within the context of Act 1 spending limits. This can be done as we begin, and we hope today begins, very serious discussions on this issue of property tax relief in the context of an overall budget plan. So we recognize that we have to have cost containment, and we want to continue to talk about that. In addition, we believe that the provisions of Act 120, the Act 120 pension increase plateaus, when that plateaus after the next 2 years, the school districts will not be facing the same challenges they have with respect to funding their pension system, and as a result, that particular exemption will no longer be as significantly applicable to that situation. And further, when this administration continues to work to restore the education funding dollars to our school districts, to replace and to restore the dollars that were cut by the previous governor, Tom Corbett, over the past 4 years, that too would allow school districts the ability to have the adequate resources where they would not be needing or not be required to provide for or seek additional exemptions above the limits that they have in place. We believe that this level of tax relief is substantial enough to really shake the foundation of the system and make Democrats and Republicans on both sides of this building, in the House and the Senate, to take notice. Folks, the General Assembly has been called to action on property tax reform. Clearly, this is the major issue, and we've been called to action. This plan that we're putting forward would must work with our colleagues to reach consensus so that we have an agreement that's consistent with what the governor's been talking about for the past 8 months or so, clearly through his campaign. The relief will be delivered to individual taxpayers. The taxpayer will receive a check from the state of the rebate. So the taxpayer will be making the payment to the school district, and then we would then, once they bring notification and proof of their payment, the state would then send them a check in the amount up to $1,990. Or if their tax bill was only $1,300, they would get $1,300. But again, it would be 100% relief along those lines. And because our city of Philadelphia relies so heavily on the wage tax and the cigarette taxes and property taxes, we have provisions that will allow them to fashion the appropriate relief, the appropriate mix of relief for the city of Philadelphia so that it meets their needs in that community. Once taxpayers provide the documentation, as I mentioned, they will be paid. They paid their bill, their rebate will be issued, and school districts will have no role in administering this rebate. The mix of taxes, as I mentioned, is part of the more modest that included in our plan now under consideration. And its rate increases the PIT by 0.78% and the sales tax by 0.6%, and includes cigarette taxes to help us generate the revenue necessary. It's important to note that this is not a one-time funding rebate. This will be a sustainable, ongoing annual rebate to our taxpayers across Pennsylvania once implemented. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to jumpstart the conversation on property taxes. We know that the House put something together several weeks ago. It does not appear to be moving. We believe that the time has come to put together a proposal that we've had vetted with the IFO that's sustainable and long-term and allows for a significant reduction in property tax relief in return for modest increases in the various taxes that we mentioned.